Back to Mr. Orth's classroom for grammar, looking at comparisons. The comparative form is the form that compares two and only two nouns. This is the form that uses more in front of the word or adds er as a suffix. Superlative form compares more than two nouns. This uses the most or the est ending. Yes, it's possible to use least, for example, or less for comparative as well. Some examples, as I mentioned, good and well both become better or best, which is partly the explanation we have for why good and well are so often confused. Bad becomes worse or worst, much or many, depending how you're applying that in a sentence. It becomes either more or most, and little can become either less or lesser, depending on your application, as well as least would be the superlative form. How do we use these? Well, first find the word that needs to be changed, or at least the comparison word in the sentence. Then you have to decide if there are two or there are more than two nouns being compared. If there are only two, then you use the comparative form. If there are more than two things being compared, use a superlative form. For spelling, make sure you use more or most for most of the words of three or more syllables, for ly words, or to sound less awkward. There's not a hard and fast rule about when you exactly use more and most compared to when you use er or est. Generally speaking, if you're unsure, use more and most and don't just add the suffix at the end. Also remember never to use more and er for the same comparison. What was more entertaining, the play, the movie, or the spoof on YouTube? So we're using more to compare levels of entertainment. More indicates there should be only two things being compared, yet when we look at the sentence, we have three things: the play, the movie, and the spoof. So, looking at this, we have three nouns, and we should be using most instead. Example that I jokingly use with my students, that was the most bestest movie I've ever seen. I joke about it, but quite honestly, I've seen it more times than I care to admit. It's wrong twice over. To which all I can say is, really? All right, to your practice. Get to work on it. Make sure that you check the count of number of items. Also, be advised that if you're comparing one thing to everything else in a set, sometimes that's considered only comparative. If I compare one city to any other city, technically I've only compared it to one other city individually. It's not a set, it's not plural. In betting it's called one versus the field. So I could plan on one team winning, or say if it's not that one team, it could be anybody else, I don't care. People who have favorites oftentimes might consider this opportunity. If it's one city is warmer than any other city, then warmer is correct. It's not the warmest of all cities. It's warmer than any other single city, and therefore it's comparison of two items. If you have questions on these, don't overestimate the fact that this is simple. Take a look at them one at a time and ask questions of your teacher. Good hunting.